Hello gorgeous peeps. So I wanted to just add one more BookTube video. I had it written down with the others that I did recently, and for one reason or another never got round to doing it, but my brain will not let me forget about it until I do it. So I am wrapping up my spontaneous BookTube editions. Not that the internet needs any more BookTube editions, but I just love books, and I think the Halloween season and the darker nights and the cold is drawing in, and it's all just it's giving me all the vibes. So this one is about Witchery and magic book series. There are three series in particular that I just love. I'm a long-term fan of, and I thought I should definitely share these. So the first series, I mean, if you are into magic at all, then you will know Practical Magic. Excuse me. Practical Magic, the movie with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, was initially a book by Alice Hoffman. She released Practical Magic way back when, and then more recently released a prequel or two, and then a follow-up. So now there's 4 books, which is just, but I actually never read the book until the other books came out. So, you know, I was a diehard fan of Practical Magic. It is officially the film that just makes me think of my sister. It's our film. We grew up watching it and loving it and relating to it, and, you know, just loved it. And then, you know, I read the books, and yeah, interesting. The book was definitely a little less whimsical, fantasy-like. It was a little less happy. I don't want to say it was darker, but it's certainly more of a serious tone to it. But if you don't know them, and I'm sure you do, but if you don't, they follow the Owens family over generations, centuries, from the 1600s through to the modern day. And there is a curse on the Owens family women. That means that if they fall in love, their beau will die. So the first in the series is called Magic Lessons. It's about Maria Owens, who is the person who invoked the curse onto the family. Maria Owens is from, you know, the 1600s, way back, and she falls in love with someone. He breaks it off with her. She follows him to Salem, where she gets tried and invokes the curse that then haunts the family forevermore. In the Rules of Magic, which is the second one, we meet the Owens family in the 60s, in the sort of hippie era. There are 3 Owens children, 2 girls, 1 boy, and in this book the boy manages to escape the curse, but the girls don't. It's very similar to Practical Magic, which is the 3rd book, but in the series, but also the first one that was released, in the way that it follows the family finding out about their magic and how they utilize it, whether they accept it or not. So Rules of Magic and Practical Magic, the 2nd and the 3rd book, are both about people in the family just dealing with their magic in the everyday and how other people treat them and how they respond to that. But the special thing about Rules of Magic, the 2nd book, is that the boy manages to escape the curse. Practical Magic is a lot like the book, but there are a lot of things that are not the same. The girls don't necessarily harness their abilities like they do in the movie. If anything, they seem to run away from it more. And it's, as I said, less whimsical and a bit more serious. And the Book of Magic, which is the last book in the series, we see the same set of characters from the Practical Magic book. And this way, in this book, they all group together to find a way to lift the curse, to save one of the aunts. So the film, I would say, is better than the book. But obviously, when you're talking about a book series, you're going to get a lot more from it when you read all 4 books. There is something iconic about it. You know, everyone knows it, everyone loves it. It is an iconic film that will be remembered forevermore, I think. It does, it's like I got a feel-good vibe to it, and it leaves you wishing you had those recipes and wishing you had that black soap that makes your skin look 10 years younger. And I want every town to have an Owens family. I love the way that they provide for the town, but it's all hush hush, and they have their own skills that they are really valued for, actually. Whether people accept it or not is irrelevant. They are valued for it because they're the only people that can do it, and I think that's kind of cool, you know. But that's the first series. If you're into magic and witchery in general, like the Practical Magic series by Alice Hoffman is brilliant, but don't watch the film before you read the books. And if you have watched the film, read all the other books because they're brilliant. The second series, which is, this is just, it's rooted in my heart, is the Three Sisters Island Trilogy by Nora Roberts. I came across Nora Roberts when I worked at Piatkus back in the day, in my early 20s. And Nora Roberts, if you don't know her, she is a massive author. She's like Danielle Steele level. She's got hundreds of books out, and she's good at what she does. She knows how to make a page turner. But the Three Sisters Island Trilogy, I think maybe one of them came out while I was at Piatkus. So it was on the shelves, and a benefit of being a staff member was that you could have one copy of every book for free. So obviously, being the bibliophile that I am, I was just down there every night taking all the books out. But Dance Upon the Air, 3 books, Dance Upon the Air, Heaven and Earth, and Face the Fire. They are overall, they're about 3 sisters in spirit, but not in blood, sisters in spirit that hold their own element. So Dance Upon the Air is about Nell, and she is the element of air, and she knows nothing about her magic, but she learns how to harness it in the book beside 2 people that know a bit more about what they're doing. The first book, Dance Upon the Air, it opens a little bit like, it reminds me a little bit of Sleeping with the Enemy, in the way that she's running from a really bad relationship and she's planning it, and she has to do it quietly and change her name and cut her hair and go dark. I loved this story for various reasons. I had I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. My personal relationships up until I met my husband were awful. Effing awful. And there was one in particular that was really, really oppressive and obsessive and possessive, and I just couldn't look up from the pavement. So Sleeping with the Enemy and Dance Upon the Air, they were both things that I really heavily related to because I was in a terrible place and a similar situation. But these books taught me how to, I suppose in a way, they taught me how to create my own story and step away from preconceived ideas or expectations that others have of you, and how to have a little bit of self-belief, I think. I know that sounds really silly because they're just books, But I think everyone, no matter what stage you're at in life, no matter what bad situation you're in, there will always be a trigger point that makes you go, I'm done. I'm done. And these books might have been that for me. I read them in my early 20s. I've continued to read them. They are I don't want to think, I just want to read. I want to feel good. I want to lose myself it's not a different world, it's our world, and it's our time, but lose myself in a different situation, escape what I'm in, like easy escape, easy read, page turners, amazing like holiday books, and really, really feel good. The other thing they taught me was, I'm obviously been diagnosed now as autistic, but for a very long time, up until what, 35, 36, maybe even 37, I wasn't diagnosed as autistic. I had no clue that I was autistic. And now I know. I am 100% sure that I grew up in a neurodivergent household. I would put money on the fact that my mum is neurodivergent. I would put money on the fact that my dad is neurodivergent. And reflecting back, now I know all this now, reflecting back, it explains a lot about my lack of social skills and my inability to make connection outside of my family. So this book, obviously this girl has run away from everything she knows, and she's had to make friends fast. She knows no one. And it was interesting. I think, you know, my 20-year-old self is not the same as my nearly 40-year-old self. And it was interesting to see how the character dealt with that and where their boundaries were, which is the bit that I struggled with, like how much they gave away and how much they kept and who they trusted and when. But they are magical books. You will, if you read these and you don't end up wanting to run a bookshop called Cafe Book with blue bookshelves and a cafe at the top, or live in a building that has its own lighthouse on the coast, then you haven't read them right. Because this is like my dream now. Even now, you know, 10 plus years of after I first read the books, I still want my own bookshop. I still want to live in a lighthouse. It's like my dream life. It's just an amazing feel-good books series rather. So yeah, Three Sisters Island by Nora Roberts. And then the last one is my most recent discovery, and it came initially, so it's the All Souls Trilogy by Deborah Harkness. I bought the Discovery of Witches book before the Sky series started. I picked it up. I couldn't get on with it because I struggled to change authors and like pace. If they're a different pace, I really struggle with that. So there's a lot of the time I have to buy books and then put them down again and pick them up after I've read something that's sort of built me up to that change of pace or change of writing style. So I picked up the Discovery of Witches. I couldn't, for whatever reason, assimilate what was going on, and then I put it down again. And then the Discovery of Witches, the first season came out, and I was just, you know, what's the word? Captivated. I was captivated. It's a brilliant series. They did the books justice so well. Obviously, there's a lot left out. There's going to be with any sort of book to screen adaptation, there's going to be things missed out, but what they did was really, really good. But after the first season had finished, I immediately went upstairs, grabbed that book and just hammered through the book, and then went on Amazon and bought the other two. Like immediately bought the follow-ups, and The Shadow of the Night and The Book of Life. I absorbed these books. They are so good. They are so rich, but not too in-depth. But they are escape books. And I would put the book down and feel like I need to see, like almost like they're your family, like you wanted to find out what was going on with them, and they became part of me for those few sort of months that I was reading them. They became part of me. So the Discovery of Witches, the books are a lot more binge worthy than the series. So if you watch a series, be warned. But the whole series is about witches, vampires and demons living in it every day, you know, living among us, but without the humans knowing. But also they're not allowed to mingle with each other, so a witch can't really have relations with a vampire or whatever. It's frowned upon. They have their own councils and all that, but it's basically the love story of a witch and a vampire. And you follow them through time, so they time travel, they jump back. Diana and Matthew. Diana is the witch, Matthew is the vampire. Diana is discovering her own magic because she was bound. So you're following her, discovering what she can do, and why she was bound, and the story behind her family and things like that. And then she goes back in time and she's connecting with her lineage. But then you also see Matthew, who goes back in time with her, and he's already lived the lineage. He's already lived in that time because he's a vampire and he's like 1,000 years old or something. So there's an interesting sort of dynamic there, but it's basically a story of their love, but also a way to save the species from dying out or weakening because they're mating with each other or with humans or whatever. So it's very, very on the border of witchery, occult and dark academia, because both Diana and Matthew are professors at Oxford. And it might be a little bit of a historical drama as well. That's dipped in when they go back in time. So it's if you're into dark academia, I really think you'll like these. And then as a follow-up to that, there is also one standalone book called Times Convert, which follows Marcus's story, who is a member of Matthew's family, and he's very prominent in the series, but it's his story as a separate sort of one-off, and that was equally as good. That's a brilliant book as well. So in actual fact, I know the series is the first three, but Times Convert is a really nice little sort of bolt-on if you're missing them. But those are my top three witchy, magic-y book series. If you haven't read them, please, you know, or if you've read a couple but you haven't read one, please read them. They're all brilliant. I hope if you were looking for something to read that I've inspired you. I don't know if I'm any good at this BookTube and if I'll carry it on, but I'm doing what I feel. I'm going with the flow. And if you've got any to add to the list, then please comment, because I would really like a new witchery series. Yeah. I love you all. More videos soon. See you soon. Love you. Bye.